word nerds, Kate here. Today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about my writing process. You may have come across the idea that writers fall into one of two camps, plotters and pantsers, or in other words, people who like to plan out their story in advance and people who like to write it and discover it as they go. Personally, I tend to fall more on the plotter side of things. I finished a novel fairly recently. I've been editing and revising it, and I recently set it off to get some feedback. But in the meantime, I wanted to start my next project. I ran into a little bit of a snag though when I sat down to start plotting my next book. I didn't really know how to do it. See, as much as I call myself a plotter, I've never really plotted out a book. Novus Test, the story that I currently am working on editing, it started out as a short story, and so I never really sat down and plotted out the whole book. I just had the short version that I expanded to make longer. So when I sat down to start plotting out my next book, I was a little bit lost. So instead of starting the outline for the next book, I really just sat for a while and reflected on my past as a writer, my habits, even going as far back as when I first started writing, what did I like to do? And that's kind of where I stumbled on this latest idea. Not a story idea for once, but an actual practice idea, I suppose you could say. Nadine Brandes, who's an author that I follow and I've talked about on here a few times, recently put out a PDF with 10 pieces of advice for a new author. And one of the points that she made really stuck out to me. She said that the large majority of writing is brainstorming. It's not actively sitting and typing out your story. And that really made me think back to my high school writing days. When I was in high school, I was working on a book idea. It will never see the light of day. It was not good. But instead of sitting and writing out chapters at a time, what I did was carry around this black spiral-bound notebook. And when I was at school or when I was at home and done with my homework, I would pull out that notebook and I would just write. And most of what I was writing wasn't actually part of the story. It was just stream of consciousness brainstorming and working through problems. Sometimes I would, in fact, write scenes that would later be a part of the final story, but sometimes it was just character sketches or thoughts about, well, what if this happened? What would that mean for the story? So I decided to embark on something similar for this next project. What I'm going to do is I am going to have a notebook dedicated to this next book. It's not actually going to be this notebook. This was just handy, but the one that I'm going to use will be a lot bigger and also not written in because I've started this one on something else already. But I'm going to take that notebook and just do what I used to. I'm going to give myself dedicated times to handwrite ideas and just think, essentially. The notebook will contain general story ideas, world building, problems that need to be solved, character sketches, and scenes that I want to include. And I'm hoping that by the time I get to the end of the notebook, or even a majority of the way through, I'll have a really good idea of the different plot points of the story, how I want things to go, and be ready to start writing. This is kind of a new experiment for me. I'm really hopeful about it, and I will definitely keep you guys posted on how it works for me. But for all you writers out there who do like to plot things out, what's your favorite way to plot out your story? Let me know in the comments below. And if you're interested in more of my words, you can check out my website, kategjameson.com, or I'm on social media at kategjameson. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and you will see me next time, word nerds.